Hello my viewers, welcome back to the channel, and by the video title you know what this video is about. Professor Arsenal is back and we got you guys, of course, some cool in-season draft stuff. And I know I did one based off the receivers before. If it's a tackles, I did one as that as well. I did some players we should look for in the draft as well in the first round. But this time I'm doing some underrated guys. So I'm looking at some of the guys who might not be first round, who might not be second round picks, who might be third round picks maybe. But most of these guys be like fourth round picks, maybe fifth, or maybe like later down the line like that. So looking at kind of like late third round guys, fourth round guys, fifth round guys who I think maybe some sleeper picks for the Steelers in this draft. So without further ado, let me get right into the video. Okay, the first person we have on the list, of course, is Barian Brown. Barian Brown, you know, receiver, 6'1", 182 pounds, a junior at Kentucky, University of Kentucky. He ran a 4.2 speed. He's a guy who always, I feel like he'd be like a first round pick, so I never really discussed him a lot because he's not gonna be a first round pick. He's not gonna be a second round pick either. I think he'd probably fall in that third or fourth round threshold, maybe I think around fourth roundish. Look at his numbers and stuff, but he's a guy who has potential. I think could be very special in the right scheme and the right system. He's 6'1", has the ability to get down the field. He's very good on the outside, making plays, and he just have that amazing straight line speed. Straight line speed, can get down, can accelerate. Is very consistent at getting vertical and making plays like that. He can take those short little catches and turn them to big yard gains, you know, have that explosive playmaking ability. And he's also very good on special teams as well, being a kick returner and a punt returner. He can make plays too as well. He's a guy who has good body control, good adjustment, good at tracking the deep ball as well. So he'll open up so much more for offense. I think the Steelers was to bring a guy in like that. You have a lot more potential. A guy can get down the field, he can use that speed, and he know how to route run as well to make things happen. Now the only negatives on his game probably would be him being smaller in stature. That's most of the stuff right there. You know, smaller in stature usually leads to you being not able to break through some of the press coverages because, you know, getting out physical and out muscled out there. You know, sometimes your hands might not be the best because you always rely on your speed mostly in a sense. But overall, I think he's a guy, you add some little weight on him, you know, while maintaining his speed, and somebody work with him on his technique a little bit as well, his release and stuff. I think he can be a versatile piece, a piece you can use all around like that. He's a nice receiver, I think, and has a good route running ability, like I mentioned, and he knows where to find the soft spots, you know, in like zone coverages. You know, some receivers you see, they might be good at man-to-man coverage because they're very good at catching those 50-50 balls and very good at creating separation. But some guys, you want to see how they look in zone because most teams going to be playing a lot of zone coverages, especially if you have speed like that. They want to keep two safeties over the top, play cover two on you. So you got to know what spots to pick. You say, you know what, I'm going to run this way. I'm not going to run a route like this. I'm going to run a route like this, and I'm going to be timing. And I'm going to sit in certain spots to get my quarterback a window to throw the ball to. And he has that ability. So I think he'd be a guy to look out for if he was to get a receiver later in the round. Okay, the next person I have on this list, underrated player, he's another receiver as well, is Antoine Wells Jr., you know, from Ole Miss. As you guys know, Ole Miss, for some reason, they always find those big physical receivers. We've seen, of course, you look at A.J. Brown, you look at DK Metcalf in recent history, their receivers always seem to be like just very physical receivers, physical guys who can go up there and make big time plays and catches and contest stuff and be like a possession catch like receiver. He ran a 4.5 40. He's 6 foot, 205 pounds. He's a pretty good receiver in my opinion. I think he's a sleeper type of guy, a guy you can work around. And the Steelers do need to bring some physicality and size to the receiving room. He's very physical, like I mentioned, of course. Right out the catch is very good at that, like that. He can break tackles. He has good agility, good balance as well, staying on his feet. Good hands as well. You know, you can throw the ball to him. He's one of those guys who can turn 50-50 to 60-40 when he needs to. Very competitive. Good at creating space and separation. Can beat the man coverages. You can get downfield. Good body control. Or difficult catches. You know, anything you see from a physical specimen. You know, a guy who can just go up there and make plays. He's one of those type of players. And I think he'd be a nice get to bring onto our team. Now, he's not the quickest, of course, being bigger in stature. He's not the quickest receiver. But he still have enough like enough playmaking ability to make plays. He might not be the most explosive like player. I think he's explosive. It's kind of like when they say explosive and then speed. You know, like some guys are explosive players, but they're not really super fast. It's like a Juju Smith-Schuster. Remember Juju played with us? He was explosive, but he wasn't fast in like terms of like just outrunning somebody. But he was explosive, making plays like he get in open space, he get in the angle, he can make something happen. Kind of like Hines Ward as well. So I think he's kind of like one of those type of players who are explosive, make plays and stuff, and can do different things as well. So he has a lot of physicality. He's a good player to have on your team. I think he'll bring a different level to our team like that and bring size to our receiver room, which is a very weird receiver room. We got George Pickens, and then we also have Calvin Austin, who's a speedster. He's like 5'7", and you look at Van Jefferson, who doesn't do anything too much really, ever since he's kind of the season started. And you look at Roman Wilson, he's smaller. He just got here. We're gonna see how he does. He didn't really play a lot in that Raiders game, but yeah, our receiver room is really just mostly one guy who's physical, and the rest of the guys are kind of similar in play style and being just shifty guys. So I think adding a guy like this will help out a lot. But let me move on to my next part. My next player I have on the list as well, who's an underrated player we can get. The next person I have on the list who's an underrated player you can find later in the rounds in the draft, he'd be a good player for the Steelers, is Derek Harmon. Now, Derek Harmon might be a third-round pick. He could be second, maybe. Depends on what the needs of some of those teams, but I think he's like a third-round guy, kind of fall around that spot. At worst-case scenario, fourth round, but I don't think he's going to drop to that far down. He maybe, you never know. Like last year, I thought Peyton Wilson would be a second or third-round guy, but he dropped because they said the injury history. But this guy right here, Derek Harmon, who's 6'5", he's on defensive tackle, the junior from Oregon. Big-time player. He played at Michigan State as well. He's a guy who's just ferocious. A ferocious player. When you have a guy with a high motor like that, who's a physical specimen, who can go out there and just make plays happen and be in that size and have that quickness and ability and strength and power, he does a very good job. He flashes a lot of ability to stack and shed against the run, so that's a very good thing. Steelers love having guys who can stop the run. Guys who can get in there, who are not afraid to get in and close those gaps up and make plays. He's very good at just being versatile, because he can play and line up in different defensive fronts. You look at like him, like you put him in the end, you put him in the middle, you put him all around the line, he make plays. And he also has shown a lot more this season in being a pass rusher. The past previous years, you look at his numbers, he was pass rushing there, but he wasn't really as effective as doing that, because his years he played with Michigan, he played 12 games in 2023, 12 games in 2022, and he played 4 games like that. So he played 28 games in Michigan, and he only had a total of how many sacks he had? Total of 3.5 sacks. In 6 games played in Oregon, he has 3 sacks already. So he has only a half less sack in 6 games played over the past 3 years in Michigan combined. So he's on the verge of having one of his best years statistically with Michigan. Now, 5 tackles for losses, more than what he had in any other season. He also going out there and being very active in the rushing game, like I mentioned before. He had 2 forced fumbles, which is more than all 3 years he combined he had at Michigan State. So he's been playing very good football this year, and I think he's on the verge and on pace for having probably his best season of his career. He's a guy who I think the Steelers will love to bring in, who's very good and possess natural leverage with his height and arms. So the bull rush is very easy and effective when you have that size, when you're 6'5", and you have the arm length to get there and to get your arm up to disrupt passing lanes and running lanes as well to close gaps up. So he'd be just a guy you bring in and you think you can build around. Steelers, you got to look for a defensive tackle. We know Cam Hayward is still good. He's still good. He's still playing at a good level, but he's getting older. He's getting on the verge of retirement. So it's better to get and draft their understudy, draft the guy who's going to be potentially their next person behind them now, so they can learn behind the legend and the veteran until the time comes where they take over the reins of it. But I think he's a guy who will be good for us to bring in. Then let me get to the next person who I have on this list as well. Okay, the next and last person on my list, I have, of course, Derek Moore, 6'3". He's 256 pounds from Michigan. You probably know him already like that. I think he probably will, because he ranked 24th in his position on the defensive line like that. He ranked 24th. So I think he'll be a guy who'll probably fall in the 3rd round, probably around 3rd round, just like a sleeper type of guy. Maybe 4th round. You never know sometimes. Sometimes we have these guys highly drafted. Sometimes teams pass on them. They might fall to 4th round, 5th round. But I think he'll be a guy who'll be in the 3rd round, late 3rd round pick. And I think he'll be a big-time player to get. Very underrated player. He has the size, he has the speed, the quickness, and also the strength and power to be relentless. As you guys know, the Steelers have, of course, TJ Watt as the edge rusher. We got Alex Highsmith, Herbert, but it wouldn't hurt to add another one. I feel like we have a lot of injuries that keep happening. Alex Highsmith have a growing injury that always lingering on, and injuries that happen are edge rushers. TJ Watt been good this last year, but the year before that, remember he had the injury as well that he missed the minor pec muscle that he tore, and he missed a little part of that season. And we see guys get banged up here and there. And TJ Watt also did get injured last year in that Ravens game. We missed the playoffs. So having just more depth on the edge will help out a lot. I think he's got nice frame, nice strength, explosive to get off. Lateral quickness, like I mentioned before. His size that he has is just very good. Heavy hands, can get to the point of attack. can shed blockers in the run game, so he's very active there. It's always good to have a guy like that. Kind of like Alex Highsmith is. He's very good in the run game as well. And this guy right here has a high motor. And high motor is something you cannot teach. It's something you just got to be, like, this happen to you like that. It's like will. Like people will say, how do I build endurance? You can't teach endurance, but you can learn it like that. And it's based off the way you learn it is based off your own experiences, how you handle when pressure is on, when you're tired, when you're gassed out. In those clutch situations, you can still go out there and be relentless and make plays. And I think he has that ability. You know, with Michigan being the champions last year, and he has some good numbers. You know, has very good potential and being a power rusher and ability to convert speed to power, power to speed. He can do all type of things like that and can make plays and is a good tackler as well. I think he'd be an active piece you have on the edge who can go out there and be nice for you, especially in the long run in the future. His numbers in 2022, he had, of course, 2 sacks in 14 games. He had 2 tackles for losses as well. He had in the second year, I think he had, was it 6 tackles for losses, 5 sacks. That was a championship year. And he also had, of course, a fumble recovery and a forced fumble. This year so far, he only have a half sack, 2 tackles for losses, 6 games in, but he still has potential, I think, to be a nice piece. And this is a guy just to have on the roster as well, because TJ Watt is amazing, but we're not gonna have him forever. And Alex Highsmith is amazing too. We're not gonna have him forever either. And he's on the younger side, of course, like than TJ Watt is. I think Watt about to turn 30, I think, or he already might be 30, but he's still got a lot left in his prime, of course. I think about 3-4 years, maybe more. You never know, like that. But I think adding pieces to keep guys fresh, to keep guys active, so you know if somebody go down or if you just want to put a guy in and the guy subs out, you have somebody who's still relentless and who can still get after the quarterback and who can still make plays for you on that line. So this is my list for some of the sleeper guys in the draft. Some 3rd round picks, some 4th round picks, 5th round pick guys who will maybe fall around that range in the draft. Let me know who you got on the roster and your radar as well. Not on the roster, but on your radar as well of being a sleeper pick. But that's all I have for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more content. And I'll see you guys next time on the channel. Peace out.